And today, it's my idols, the Mime Troupes, Lisa Hori-Garcia and George P. Scott. Finally get to pick your brains a little bit. FREEDOMLAND. What is it about?
Take it away, Lisa.
Oh, thanks. It's a story of a man named Malcolm Haywood and his grandson, Nathaniel Haywood. And Nathaniel has just come back from Afghanistan. And we see in the relationship that they have how they're impacted by police raids, basically.
Freeze! Frozen! Where is it? Where is what?
We are living in a police state right now.
Right. Where the citizen doesn't know if they can trust the authority that's supposed to defend
And the citizens have no voice.
Right.
They have absolutely no say, because if you say anything, you're potentially the next dead
and you're
victim.
presumed guilty before
Correct.
you're even asked.
Especially if your skin color is darker.
Have you seen what that stuff does to kids?
Stand down!
And here's Lisa coming in. So tell us a little bit more about your role and what you guys are investigating here.
I play a character. Her name is Emily Militis. And I've just joined the police academy. And as the newbie, I'm excited and full of enthusiasm to be part of protecting and serving my community. And what I come across time and time again is the injustices that keep happening to the people around me. And I've started to create this relationship with Malcolm Haywood, whose apartment keeps getting raided over and over again. And it's starting, there's a little bit, I think it's fair to say it's starting to corrode a little bit of like what my idealism about my job as in law enforcement. This is my chosen profession.
To respect the constitutional rights of all men to liberty, equality, and justice.
Bam, 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 bam! Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
And all she wants to do is help people. You know, that's been her motto. But then you get other folks that kind of ruin the system and make Emily look really bad, you know? And then you start to think, okay, what's really messed up right now? It's like, where's the real fact that we need to dig into with the police and how they are being trained to deal with citizens?
And you're coming back from Afghanistan. Tell us a little bit more about the dichotomy of abroad and at home.
Well, my grandfather has kind of made the decision that I should go to and join the army, because in his eyes, it is safer for a black man to be across seas than to be here in America, where, you know, black guys are being killed every day. And so he was saying, I'm going to keep you protected. I'm going to send you over to Afghanistan. And then when I get back, it's like, hey, you're messing up the plan, because this isn't exactly what we have planned and talked about. So, but in Nathaniel's mind, he has it that he wants to live a normal life. He would like to just have something of his own and see, you know, kids grow up and be a good Samaritan, which he is.
Granddad, you'd like to talk about the plan. Infiltrate the army, then turn it on the man. But I'm too tired to try and turn this whole world upside down. I just want a little house on the quiet side of town.
When we're seeing time and time again these injustices happening in the world, and specifically in our country, how do we as citizens of this country, what can we do? Like, we can do something. People, like, there's references to, you know, Malcolm X, the Panthers, you know, people have gone out and made their voices heard, have stood out and, like, shown a face to the problem, to the protesting. And, you know, that's what the Mime Troupe is about. Every year we get into our studio and we have this huge round circle table, and we sit there and we talk about what are the burning issues? Like, what's in the air right now? What are you feeling? What are you sniffing at? And let's explore that. Let's research. Let's dive into that and see what we come up with. Sometimes the shows can be very San Francisco centric, Bay Area centric.
Right.
Sometimes they're on a national level. Sometimes they're international. It just depends. But we want to be as topical as possible, and we want to bring that out to the people.
Time is upon us to finally stand our ground. In freedom land, the free to gun us down. As long as it's somebody else, you're free to look away. While they say our lives don't matter, say our lives don't matter, say our lives don't matter.
One of the things I love, every time we pull up into a park, people will be walking by and look at our truck and it says the San Francisco Mime Troupe, and then at the bottom it says the tagline is not that kind of mime. And people will be standing there looking at it and being like, what is this? Why are there mimes in the park? Ugh, it sounds horrible. And I'll just happen to be walking by and I'm like, well, you know, actually...
Not that kind of
Not
mime.
that kind of mime. And people are like, well, what does that mean? It's like mime, the Greek word, mimicry, to take everyday life, to exaggerate everyday life in song and dance. We do physical theater. Our roots are in commedia dell'arte, which is the Italian art form that people would take troops, literally, on the back of a wagon, would go from town to town, and they would find out what are the politics, give us the juicy gossip of that particular place that we've just landed,
and we'll write a show right now.
We're gonna we've got like an improvised like a skit, but we're gonna plug in all of this information and we're gonna present it in the main plaza, and then and you'll get information. It'll be entertaining. There'll be music, dancing. Commedia dell'arte is with the masks. So, but the mime troupe then in the 70s, when we started to shift into becoming a collective, then the writers started looking at what does American melodrama have to offer us. American melodrama is what every good superhero movie is. It's the hero journey. And the meld of these two art forms is basically now what we have, what we call the mime troupe style. It is very much physical theater. It's very much engaged. There's music that is underscored throughout the whole thing. We sing, we dance, we'll hopefully have funny jokes.
That's the grand tradition, a melding pot of all the art forms that engages the audience to participate.
People come up to me after shows and say, thank you so much. I feel really isolated in the community that I live in, and to be doing this kind of work in such small numbers. I used to live in the Bay Area, now I live in Fresno, like Peace Fresno. And you come here and you invigorate me. You recharging my battery, making me remember that I'm not alone in this. The things that are really important to me, other people are thinking about them too. They may not be coming out in droves like they are in the Bay Area for protests and in the street, but here where I am in my more, in my smaller, more rural type community, you're reminding me that this work is important, and I thank you. And those are those times where you think, that's right. We need to keep connecting people to each other. We need to remind the community that we are part of a greater whole, and that what we're doing really has so much value, and that it's hard work.
Absolutely.
And
it has to be reinvented and fresh every time. And I want to show a clip from the film Troopers where we can also see how critical through the United States culture history the mime troupe is.
I think the times that the mime troupe came out of and the place that the mime troupe came out of were interdependent. So you'd had the beats in San Francisco, you'd had on the road, you'd had the folk music revolution, which was really about homegrown, indigenous, decentralized culture. And all of that stuff was percolating in the Bay Area. And the mime troupe was just an extension of a long line of kind of underground cultural expression.
This is like the tail end of the beat era. I went to the first, before light shows were put with rock music. I remember going to a light show. I didn't know what this was. And we're looking at squiggles of paint, writhing on a screen, the birth of a new art form. This is probably 1961. Poets, musicians, and a lot of crazy people, artists hanging around, very intense, living on nothing and doing what they wanted all the time.
Before the Mime Troupe, I wanted to be an actor, but more than that, I spent most of my life in the straight world. As a cab driver, as a waiter, working in offices, bumming around America, bumming around Europe. But I didn't live and move within the artistic or in that bohemian community. We needed money for the defense fund, and we decided to have a benefit at the Loft, a fundraiser. A couple of weeks before the Mime Troupe benefit, I'd found out that Bob Dylan was going to do a press conference, and I went to the press conference, and I took a poster for the benefit and put it on the desk that he was going to sit behind him.
You have a poster there. Does that denote
Yes, this poster somebody gave to me. It looked pretty good. Jefferson Airplane, John Handy, Quintet, and Sam Thomas, and Mystery Trend, and the Great Society are all playing at Fillmore Auditorium Friday, December 10th, and I would like to go if I could.
All the artists got a hold of all their friends and all their cousins, and the place was jammed, and the musicians showed up, and the jazz poets, and the rock and rollers, and the filmmakers, and the dancers. And it went on, and the cops tried to break it up, and we convinced them it was okay, and they went outside, and we got more people up the freight elevator from the back, and just a constant flow of people all night long. But the most important thing about that event was that they were all different types of people that never met each other. All the rocks were turned over, and all these worms came out and all mingled with one another. But there was this openness that I'd never experienced, like a little village in some foreign country where people just started dancing with one another. And there was the beginning of a lot of people wanting to be involved with change.
The SF Mime Troupe is a gem to not just San Francisco communities, but like to the whole nation. Just because everything is so real, and I've had people come up to me and say, wow, I was in tears by the end of this show, just of traveling with your journey of who you are and what's going on in the world.
We work with high school students, and during the summer, we have a summer workshop and internships where we bring students from literally all over the world to come and study and work with us during the summer. Let's raise this awareness and show, like, you may not agree with this opinion. You may not think that this is true, but let me give you this much so that you can explore it for yourself and see what you come up with.
And I keep having this energy feeling of burst of energy wanting to take this national, just because it needs to be voiced out, not just to our community of where a lot of things are happening here in the East Bay and San Francisco, but it's happening in Ferguson and in Atlanta and New York. And, you know, the people that are on the East Coast aren't being able to see what's going on here. So I think this show does need to go national.
A lot of our audiences aren't theater people. You know, as an actor, there's something really special about getting to perform for people where it's like a community. We have activists, we have families, we have people who are just walking by a park and are like, hey, what's going on? Let's just stop and check it out for a minute.
We can keep voicing and keep fighting for what we believe in the cause are. And slowly over time, things will progress and change.
And at the end, when we pass the hat at the end, then we have that interaction with the audiences, and people come up and talk to us about their personal stories. It's really moving when people are like, wow, I feel like I didn't know that there was something I could do, and I feel like I need to do something. I need to be part of this community. There was a time, especially through the 90s and early 2000s, where the company was going across the United States, going internationally.
And then all it has been curtailed because of funds.
Because of funding.
Because you guys lost a lot of funding, I imagine, like these past 6, 7, 8 years of corporate takeover.
Yeah, the NEA funding has drastically gone down, so what they're being able to give has also decreased. It really is a question of, if people feel like this show or any of the shows, it has an important enough message that they want to get behind and help figure out, whether through fundraising or, you know, again, it's like just having more people as allies and advocates for the show to help us figure out ways to get it out for a larger audience. The whole mission statement of the San Francisco Mime Troupe is to bring shows out to the broadest possible audience.
Right.
And that's why we perform in public spaces like parks, and we don't charge money ahead of time. So if you like the show, put in some money to show us how much you liked it.
I want to dig a little bit more in like that collective thing. So you guys decide everything together, from the building issues to the tour issues to the concept issues to the theme choices. Everything is a debate.
Well, hopefully not all of it is a debate. There are times when if, we're in a deficit and in a deficit year and we need to put the show up, all of us will sit around the table, and if we need to not pay ourselves for however many weeks just so that we can make sure that this show goes up, we will do so.
I know I learned a lot stepping in, not being a part of the collective and being a new actor, is that there are people from all walks of life and from all over the country that come here to even intern. And I'm learning so much from them on my political intake of my beliefs, and we're like shooting stuff back and forth of how we believe and what we believe, and what's going on and what's the root of the issue and how we're going to change it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work, but I think that's a great part of being the collective without someone's foot getting stepped on, and being like, well, my voice isn't being heard here, and it is actually. It's just
right.
You've got 11 artistic directors that are now, never get down to one thing. But coming in here, I've learned a lot about myself just being part of the collective and my stance on certain subjects here. This show has been my way of writing and speaking my voice. And I best do that through theater. And so I think that's my contribution back to the community, to say that I'm still with you guys, and, since if I'm not in the streets, I'm probably at home, researching stuff that's going on about right now. But I would say that this is my voice now, being part of the SF Mime Troupe and giving it back to the community.
I suggest we watch a little bit of a clip from that wonderful documentary called Troopers about the Mime Troupe throughout the ages that was shot in 1985, and we're about to watch the Mime Troupe on tour, as we were just discussing whether that's going to happen this year or not, and the critical tenet that they're always reinventing themselves. So let's watch for a sec.
Great.
But we've never been, adhered to one particular program. And we've really avoided that, and I think that's been really what's kept us alive.
Some things haven't changed. The truck may be different, but it looks very much the same. I think the structure of the collective is similar. So how does that operate? Like a theatrical collective in this day and age, what are the nuts and bolts of this basically unique surviving structure from our 60s heritage?
I'll give you a little bit of background too. So the company was founded in 1959 by R.G. Davis, and the first 10 years the company was not a collective. It was basically like any other theater company that you would find, where you have an artistic director, managing director, you hired in actors, you formed a company, but all the decision making was made by the artistic director. Then in 1969, R.G. Davis took a bit of a sabbatical from the company, and the company members that were there in 1970 all sat around the same big round table that we have in our space and decided that they were going to become a collective. All of the company members who were sitting around the table, who were directors, they were writers, they worked in the office, they were actors, they were musicians, that they wanted to take ownership of this company, meaning that we're all artistic directors. We're all making the managerial the decisions for the company. And so we're worker-owned, basically. And right now, there are 11 of us in the collective, and we're still a mishmash of musicians, writers, directors, actors. It's a lot of responsibility, but as a company member, there's something that's very fulfilling about getting to have ownership of what you're putting out there, what the message is, what we want to be addressing, how we want to attack a certain subject and the politics around it, and present that to the highest quality that we can.
You can go to sfmt.org, and they will tell you and show you all the places we were going and the times that we will be there.
Thank you so much for coming over, you guys. I love your shows. Signing off.
See you at a park near you.
How can we live? How can